To the Charles King Book Club.
Hey Charles.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just cooking and chilling. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, I hear you.
Can you hear my background?
Yeah, sound like something's on the stove cooking, like you frying.
Yes. It's almost done. I'm gonna mute myself in and out.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna give everybody a chance to show up. Only you and DC are here right now.
A man's job is never done.
So, what you been up to these last few days?
You know what? I've been working out. I recorded a new song, so I'm waiting for it to be mixed and mastered. And I'm kind of like annoyed with myself because I missed karaoke on this past Thursday. And the fact that I started off my first week missing something that I need to take serious is
Right.
weighing on me a little bit. But other than that, I've been chilling.
Okay. Hello, Monet.
Hello, how are you?
All righty. Hello, DC. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How about yourself?
I am excellent. Let's give these other people a few more minutes.
I must apologize in advance. You may hear some background commentary, and those are my seven parrots. They may want to join in on conversation, so I ask for forgiveness up front for them.
DC, I'm cooking in the back, so it is what it is. Man.
Okay, all right.
Nice to meet you, DC, and nice to meet you, Monette.
Likewise.
Same here. I am trying to remove this.
Okay. Well, until everybody else comes in, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll get started. It's 5 minutes after. So I want to start out first where, I like to have everybody introduce themselves so we'll get to know each other a whole lot more as we go on through these weeks and months of this wonderful club that's going to get larger and bigger. I'll start off first. I'm Charles King, and I'm the starter and the owner of the book club. And I am so proud and happy for the people that have joined so far and looking forward to more. I am here in Metro Atlanta. This book club is part of my wonderful, wonderful social part of my life that I want to grow bigger.
I'll go next. I'm Monette. I am in I'm in Maryland, suburb of DC. And I am happy to be here.
I'll go next if that's fine. My name's Amen. So you can either pronounce it Amen or Amen. And I know who you're talking about, whatever you say. I'm here in Dallas. I'm from Michigan, and I am a singer. And I am the first person Charles interviewed this year. So shout out to Charles. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek, but everyone calls me D, especially those that like me. Um, I too like Charles. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I work with persons with disabilities as an administrator and oversee that the government employees are taken care of. So that's my world.
So, as you guys know, we're starting with Giovanni's Room, and we decided that we would do just the first three chapters as the icebreaker to get us going. So, how did you guys find this part of the book? Um, what are some of the things that you took from the book that you really, really like?
Well, I like the cover. It's given very much so France. I like the cover. I also um, I like reading books that forces me to look in a world of someone that doesn't match mine. Someone's background said, but I like the fact that it brings me into a world that's completely different than my world, yet still have some similarities, certain connections that I identify to with, and yeah, yeah. So I'll let somebody else go because I got some thoughts. I can't wait to get into it, but yeah.
I'll say overall, and I'm listening rather than the old school reading. The I think it's, and I think Charles maybe mentioned this, that for 1965, there
56.
was 1956. I'm sorry, there was a lot that was happening that was way before. Um, yeah, that and I had to remember as I read. What I liked about it is some of the challenges that they were faced with seem to be no different than some of what we're dealing with today, and the whole acceptance and all of that. So I like the setup. For me, I think it's a little slow, and that may be because I just finished a very fast-paced, hard-hitting sci-fi series with another book club. So it was about dragons and wizards and all of that. So to slow down and read about someone sitting in a bar for hours talking about everything, it's not the book, it's me slowing down.
Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it, King. Okay. James Baldwin need his ass whooped for this. I cannot believe. I cannot believe. He slowed it down like that. He's so descriptive about
Yeah,
what people are wearing and the moonlights and the cut of the sidewalk and whatnot. But the minute him and Giovanni get into it, you gonna give 10 lines, excuse me, 10 and a half lines. You're gonna give 10 and a half motherfucking lines, man. I was annoyed. I just finished it yesterday. And it annoyed me. It annoyed me. All of this mess. And thank you, D, for just jumping right into it because I read books that were more to my liking as it relates to pace and flow. And I mean, the book matches my life because I'm sometimes all over the place. But yet, I mean, you're damn if you do, damn if you don't. So don't be boring. Whatever you're gonna do, don't be boring. And the fact that the first part of this is it climaxed so quickly and just like a mess. But go ahead, I'm on that.
I think, you know what, for me, it's the opposite. Like, yes, it's slow, but I love the descriptions because, like, one thing I love about reading is that I feel like I'm watching a movie. So the more descriptive you are, I can almost like imagine all these characters. Like, I mean, I'm one of those people that I get so into a book, I have to ask myself, is that somebody I know, or did I read that in a book? Like that's how in depth I like to get with characters. That I meet someone and they say something, I'm like, hold up, oh no, no, that was a book. you know. So I love that, because it just, like, when you would say something to somebody and go, oh, Will Smith would say that, but you're talking about Will Smith from like Fresh Prince, or Urkel would say that. It's
Hmm.
not Jaleel, it's Urkel, because you've just watched them so much that you go, you say that's like that something that person would say. When it goes this in depth with the characters and like, everything, like, I mean, sometimes like the way he says, like, I want to be in Paris. It's like, you want to go to that place, just off of the description. And I actually love this era, this time. Like, I could have been born back then, but not be black. Well, depending on where I was, you
That
know.
part. That part.
Yeah, so I can appreciate that because it's slow, but it's not, to me, it's not slow and boring. It's just slow and getting, more in depth.
Was
And
go ahead.
can I say something real quick, man? And thank you for that because, again, I went into it expecting everything to be what I just finished reading,
Yeah,
and
wizard.
yeah, and I keep yeah, Wizard and Warlocks. I keep going back to 1956, and you're telling a story. That's a story that's really not supposed to be told during that time frame
Yes.
about a race of people from another race of people, and we have a totally different perspective of what that looked like for us. So I kept that in mind that you're building this because you're telling it from so many different perspectives and so many different lenses that the only stories really being told that were told then were from white America. Our side, we were still battling with other things that dealt with civil rights and just coming out of slavery, Jim Crow, and all of that. So once again, we had to learn. I feel like we're having to learn through another race's experience. So that kind of helped me slow down some because I had to remember the time where he was, not only in that story, but where he was as a same gendered male. And he really is doing a treat for us by laying out. It's just we're a society now. We want it now. We want it yesterday. That's all.
Now, I love the pace because what the pace does, well, what it did for me, because I was looking at what was thought provoking and what was not. The documents of this book, when he takes you through and he's going slow with it, he's going to take us through this thing so slow that while you're going through it, you're going to feel all the emotions, you're going to get all the tensions and everything that happens that's exciting, that he wants you to know this is how this is going, this is how this started. And when it gets to where it's going to get to eventually, I think that's when we're going to appreciate the slowness of the book. But I also think that for this particular time, for him to be able to tell this story the way he told this story, that's the shocking part for me. Because I'm thinking, like, really? And so it gives that relevance. Well, for me, it's like you can kind of like do a comparison of then and now.
Hmm.
And so when you're doing that, it's just kind of like, let's just say with three of us being same gender loving. I'm not sure about Monet, so I'm not trying to be exclusive, but same gender loving. It kind of like takes you to that point of, do I have this kind of patience?
That is
I am all gender loving. Right now, I'm with a male, but I'm an ally through and through before I even knew I was an ally.
And
shout
that,
out,
my friend,
shout
and
out
that,
to
my
you.
friend, is why we love you.
Shout out to you. I love what Charles and well all of y'all approach about patience because I guess the time in my life that I'm in, I've been forced to really embrace patience, and I think just in my personal life, me and patience hit a bumpy road. So I guess when I'm reading the book, I'm just like, come on, get to the show, get to the excitement, get to the something. And I guess I'm devaluing his time. I'm devaluing the time period of 1956, and how he's even telling, like you said, Charles, how he's even telling this story and the bravery that it took to tell the story. He's telling it. So I don't think I put that into context about the time frame or the timing of it. So yeah, I mean, and at the same time, I'm still okay to feel how I feel about it. It's given very much for me. I don't necessarily want to say born. It's like I felt where he was coming from. I felt David. Character wise, not James Baldwin, but character wise. And I guess maybe the writing style of James Baldwin, it's like if you're gonna write this book, if you're gonna do this thing, then do it. Then do it. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna be brave and bold to do it, do it. I don't want to feel like I'm reading for the sake of just filling pages so you can submit them to a place for this book to be published. And for me, I was the first chapter. It's like okay, I'm sort of getting this foundation, but then it's getting very like I'm like okay. And then the second was like okay, now I'm getting the substance of it, and then it drops back. In my opinion, it drops back down again with this quick little spark, and I'm just like, is that how you're gonna do? Is that how you're gonna do part one? Is that how you want to do? It's like that. It just maybe I'm hungry.
Don't
maybe,
discuss James Baldwin on an empty stomach.
yeah, maybe I'm hungry. It's just I just it's so much that I want to. And then they gave like the whole ending of the fact that well, not the ending, but the fact that you learn that Giovanni passes in prison. It's like the book is only but this quick. It's like man, I would have just loved more about that. I mean, child, it's given very much so closeted and opened and then very secretive. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Maybe after I eat, I might feel differently. But right now, I'm gonna speak my truth. I am not okay with the first part of this book, but I appreciate it.
Now, can I share one of the things that I am really fascinated with is uh, when they talk about some of the political struggles that are happening. I'm like, wow, has any damn thing changed? Really? Are we repeating ourselves? Because even with the banter at the bar when he met Giovanni, and how Giovanni was just giving the U.S. hell. I mean, he was wearing us thin. Giovanni let the United States have it, and just from that standpoint of you guys have everything, but it's still not enough. And you come over here and look down upon us because we do things this way, but this is what's happening in your country. And then he takes offense and then have to realize that, he's telling the truth. And we look at some of those things that Giovanni was saying to him that are prevalent today in certain parties and in certain what they consider to be political norms, and how it's almost as if let's take LGBTQ plus, that the youngsters that are wanting to embrace who they are, but then the government is saying get back in the closet, so to speak. And to see and hear that from 1956, it's amazing to compare and contrast what's happened politically now compared to what happened politically then. And it almost is a little depressing because you would think we would be a little further ahead, but we're battling some of them same damn things Giovanni said at the club.
We're gonna hit on that a little bit later.
Okay.
But just to carry this a little bit forward, let me ask you guys this: tell me what parts from part one are you seeing that makes you think about your personal experience?
I'll say one thing because I look to relate. I don't look at when I read any kind of book. I look for similarities and not differences. So for me, the dynamic with his dad, when he was like, he's talking to me like we friends. He's like, I'm not looking for a friend. I need a, I wanted to be his son. Um, and things like that. So it was like sometimes I could feel like that, like Like with my own mother, she's like, wants to be homegirls, and and it's like, but you're not. Like we can't talk about everything, especially if I can't talk about everything wholeheartedly, unscripted, genuinely, because like you want to talk, but it has to be with limits. Like you don't want to hear everything. So
Mhm.
that I was able to relate with that. And then he said, well, he ended up like finding a way to leave and making it seem like it was his dad's idea. I felt like, okay, yeah, I've done that. Even my family is Caribbean background, so there's this hierarchical, like you stay in the house until you're married, and anything that deviates away from that is is not okay. Like there is no you're 18, you leave. It's your husband comes and gets you from your house, and you know and things like that. So I've been like the black sheep, even though I'm a physician, and that's not good enough. you
So
know
is tradition?
Excuse me.
Is that tradition?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about you, D?
It's going to sound weird, but I relate it more so to the relationship between David and Hella, and how um, I think they both were just living a lie to each other and okay with it. The how he came up with all types of excuses to be away from her, and I feel like she did the same. That and I remember growing up that both my parents were ministers, and so you can imagine what was pushed down my throat on Sunday mornings through Sunday evenings. And the fact that he was trying to live a life that was outside of her, um, and used other people and other things to achieve that, and then sometimes get mad at it. I can see that. I saw doing that. And um, while, and this may sound a little crazy, and follow me here, I have a little sensitive spot for what I call a liar. And the reason being is because for some of us, I'm 50 years old, I had to become an expert at hiding and at lying because my life, in some cases, depended on it. My safety and my security depended on it. And um, was that the right thing? It was for 1975, 1976. Uh, it was, but I can relate to that false life, knowing you want something different, but not knowing what it is that you want.
D, that was really transparent and honest, and I love that. And I think it takes a different type of bravery to be born in an earlier time. So shout out to you and Charles and everybody who felt like they had to lie. I mean, because I felt like I had to lie, but I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good at it at all. Okay, one of the reasons my wrist are broke, I had to break it from the shackles of my people. So I could, from a knee high to tadpole. Okay, baby, this was me. Um, I relate to all of this. All of the first part, and I think that's what annoys me is because it's like reading a reflection of feeling so trapped. It don't matter what time frame. Excuse me. It don't matter what time frame or what period. It's almost like being trapped, and you have these options where the world is telling you, well, you got to live like this, you got to be this way. If you don't be like this, if you don't do this, drink because it'll make it easier. And I found myself mad at the fact that Giovanni, James, William, all had to be who they are because they felt like they was pushed in that box and in that corner. And I know what that feels like to be pushed and to try to be managed. And I mean, my God, I look up and I fight for freedom all the time for myself. And it's like to feel the world and society try to tell me that I can't be free. So much so that I practice imprisonment of myself the same way David practiced imprisonment of himself from everybody. It's like that. that type of connection, it makes me mad, and it makes me just want to live out however I want to, and just to do the damn thing, and to know that that's easier said than done. And I think that's what makes it so frustrating as well. And I think that's probably why I have an issue with patience, is because I can see what David, what he's wanting and where he wants to go. I can see that in Jaquiz's eyes. Who did I say before? James? Who's James? He must be talking about me. Jaquez, I see that in all of these characters, even David's dad, of wanting to live and just feeling like you can't, so you do things to deal with, to sleeping with people in the dark. Child, I've been there. To drinking, I've been there. To lying, I've been there. And it's just like you're doing all of this stuff, like for what? Like for what? And the minute you say, and it's probably gonna be that in chapter 2, the minute David says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna live," it's like, okay, and well, here's a sector of bullshit you got to deal with for living. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So, yeah. What about you, Charles?
Well, I found it very relative in a whole lot of ways, and apparently I must be the oldest person here because I am 57, and I will tell you this: from having to lie, I was good at lying. I was good at lying, and so it's like if I did not, especially for particular situations, then there's no telling what those repercussions would have been.
Exactly.
So I had to think out the process, and if I needed to lie, I would lie. If I needed to just be authentic, but be authentic from a different perspective, and just bring it home, I actually had to create that narrative to make it stick. And so, in just thinking about this first part, it's basically like they were doing pretty much some of everything to make things flow, but then what leads me to believe that as this goes on and goes on and goes on, it's basically like it's like being in a bad relationship. And when you're in a bad relationship, pretty much, it's like, oh, I just love him to death, but I can't stand it, and I hate it when he does this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like trying to trying to make a beautiful layer so that everybody could just sit there and just enjoy. It's
It's
not
like
cool,
having peace.
they're enjoying it.
Like having. I'm sorry to cut you off. I love what you just said. It's like for a moment you can just have peace. For a moment you can just breathe and exhale. And that's the part. That's the issue with breathing. Is you gotta you gotta keep breathing. And ah, man. Sorry. I felt what you said, because it's like you chase. I feel like I'm chasing peace in my personal life, and I have peace, and I have peace because like I have, like David has a roof over his head, but it's like it's only for a short period of time. But he have a roof over his head. Okay, he has a friend, but his friend Jaquez is sort of like used like a friends with benefits minus the benefits type of thing. It's like having all of these pieces that are working, yet none of these pieces are for the puzzle that you're trying to make. And it's like I'm happy with these pieces, but this is not the puzzle that I want. But is it okay to be ungrateful for that foundation or for that moment, or is it best to just enjoy the puzzle that you have? So
So let me ask you this question, because this also I think it's like a big old cluster, and it's got a lot of things in it, but you just have to find it. Is this what you guys would classify as love?
Depends on the well, depends on one's definition, because when I look at love, and this is Derek D's definition of love,
Mm.
it doesn't require a lot of the pump and circumstance that society says it must have. I can only love you after 6 months of knowing you. I can only love you after this. Oh, you got to check this box and you got to check that. So to some, yes, it could be defined as love. But when you look at love in its core and in its existence, it doesn't require all this stuff to make it, because then is it really love that we're talking about? Because we're trying to sway and move things into a direction that works for us. And love, from what I understand, is just much easier than that. It doesn't require all that. So
It's supposed to be.
it's supposed to be. But so the answer for me is yes and no.
What do you think about that, Monet?
Hold on one second. I think, I mean, same thing with depending on, hold on, sorry. And I pronounce it Monette.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I think with love, I was just telling Ty that we're talking about chapters just 1 to 3. So, love doesn't have, it doesn't have the rules, like you said, like you can, I've fallen in love at first sight. I have, and it is fun and it is bliss and it is, I'm with a person now that I fell in love at first sight 20 something years ago, and we worked hard and we got back together, and we're doing that thing. We're 6 months reconnected. We reconnected 3 years ago, but 6 months, just saying we're gonna live this second try and do it. And it was love at first sight. So, letting go of all the societal rules and norms. It's like, who made up all these rules?
Exactly.
And why are we following them?
Exactly.
People, and because we were trained to do so. And if you don't follow the rules that was placed upon us, then there's repercussions for it. And I think that's just the frustrating part of trying to find love and understand love for you, while understanding that, because you can have love by yourself. You can't control someone else. Like, you can't control how someone else was raised, someone else was taught. And to try to find their understanding of love and then yours and trying to mesh it together can be so frustrating. And I don't think, me and Charles talked about this a little while ago, about the need for the generation before and the generation now to hold hands for the later generation. Because had the folks who are gay and same-sex attractive had this whole line of understanding and proper training of how to practice love and feel love and what loves look like, then that transition could be a lot easier. Yet society has, in my mind, purposely put roadblocks up and took out history and maneuvered things to make it hard so that we can repeat this cycle of dysfunction. And to answer your question, Charles, for me, love is, and whatever the is personal. So it's personal for me, and it will look different, and it will look different for my partner. The issue is no one really knows how to talk about love. In my opinion, well, at least I don't.
Well, we've just added Dr. Ford is with us now. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Dr. Ford.
The skin is glowing. The teeth is looking good. What's up, pimpin'? What's up, pimpin'? Hey.
Charles, can I, before we move on, can I add something?
Yes.
That both Ahmed and Monette both said that just triggered something with me. And when Monette mentioned about falling in love at first sight, I had this conversation probably about 3 years ago, and an individual was arguing with me about, I don't believe in love at first sight. I don't think that exists. I think it's just superficial. I think it's just, yeah. And so I did a little test. I said, how long have you been married? Oh, we've been married about 35 years. And I'm like, how was it when you guys first got together? And I went through all these questions, and he described her and how beautiful she was. And I said, but man, when did you know she was the one? When I first saw her, I laid eyes on her. And I said, that's love at first sight. And that kind of stems over to something that our man said, that we were taught But I think we were taught by people that didn't know themselves how to love. And what happens is we go through life with all we know is what we were taught about love versus what we knew about it for ourselves. And then when we learn about it, it's like, whoa. And baby, when that heart get broken that first time,
Oh, your whole world is crashed. It's crushed.
you don't know love until that heart till you can't eat, can't sleep, can't what's her name? Crystal Water said, I can't sleep, can't eat.
You
Oh
better say.
yes. Until that heart is broken. And that's the part when we talk about learning and what's been taught to us about love.
Mm.
It's always been shared, the man, the woman, and having a child and having a house and doing all this and doing all that. They didn't talk about what it looks like when you're hurt and when you're broken and when you can't love yourself and when you can't love others and what that looks like. So here we are now, I feel me relearning to love. And I'm effing it up a little bit, but hey, I, I'm learning and I'm taking the steps that I need to, and I'm listening to what I was taught, but I'm also listening to what I experience and where love is actually taking me. So, uh,
Let me ask you all this just to delve a little bit deeper into this. So, being same gender loving,
This
we
is
had
funny. The same gender loving. I've
we
never
had
heard that before.
we had no examples, right? So if we're to follow what we see the man and the woman do, don't you think that we're setting ourselves up for much more heartache, pains, and failures?
You better
Because
talk about it.
what we've seen before, what we see with them is they're always lying. They're always doing things that just don't match.
But
They're always got infidelity and it's always accepted. But when we live our truth and our standards, they're a little bit different, even though it's still from that same mold. So why don't we think about, because we didn't have the freedom, so I understand that. But have you thought about if we just thought about creating our own molds and making our lives what they're supposed to be and build that community and make it be as good as it's supposed to be? Because it's about loving anyway.
I will tell you, I will tell you that, even being, on the other side, I didn't have any examples either.
mhm,
You know,
Oh
you know,
wow.
it's, like my mother is a single mother. My family, like I tell you, is Caribbean. So all the men around me had second girlfriends and wives and this and all that, so I didn't have an example. If I want to say, I would say that one thing that, same sex loving people have taught me is real love. And especially it doesn't look conventional. So it's like, you know what, I'm going to love even though all of you don't love what we have going on. I'm going to love
Oh
even
wow.
though you don't want to see us holding hands. I'm going to hold hands, and even though and it looks different. I think, it was with Ty, Dr. Ford, introducing me to somebody who's like, yeah, when I fall in love, I don't even want to live with the person I'm going to be married to. It's like, what?
Oh
And we sat there and I'm trying to convince him why, you need to be living together if you love this person. And he's like, no, like, I don't like that. And that was his expression of love. It was like, I don't want to live with like, I want us to have, like, I go to his place, he comes to mine. And it was like, but I mean, I left, I was still talking about it after, like, like, why do you want to live with the person? But that was my expression and what I felt that love, how it would look, how it should look, coming home together and whatever. But he was like, no, you know um and it looks different. I've met people that say, yes, we date other people, but when we come home, it's about us, and that's how they express their love. And it's like, who am I to say that's not really love because it doesn't fit my mold or what I know? It's like, listen, we don't cheat, we're open, we have rules, we have this, we have that, and it's like, okay. And it's like, and hell to the person who thinks they're gonna come and get in between us because we already have our system, what we have going on. So it does. It's we don't have. Believe me, as an African American female, we don't have examples either. We winging it. I'm winging it.
Wow.
Everybody winging it.
And Monet, may I say thank you? May I say thank you for? I was going to say, Monet, may I say thank you for reminding us of that, because I know I'm talking about me. I'll get self-absorbed with my and thinking it's from just the male perspective, the gay male perspective, and there's a whole there's a whole nother several other layers to it. And thank you for number one being here, and thank you for just those gentle and subtle reminders. You can pull my coattail anytime and say, "Hey, look, we got the same shit over here too." So, but thank you for that.
Oh, thanks.
Monique, we got to put you on a poster. We got to put you on a poster.
Yes.
Let me know so I can get my hair done.
What about you, Doctor?
I'm going to put each of you in this situation. Each of you are going to be in this situation. I want you to tell me. Now, we're talking about Giovanni's Room. And for what we got these first 3 chapters, how would you handle this situation?
Which one? Like David's situation with Giovanni, or like specifically how? Like what situation specifically?
Yeah, we can use that one as an example, because that one was kind of off kilter.
Would you guys? Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
Dr.
Doc.
Ford here. Y'all can call me Ty for sure. And I'm so sorry I'm tardy to the party, but it's been so entertaining so far. So I'm super thrilled to be here. Yes, for the individuals who have just gotten the book, would you guys just briefly tell me what happened? What is the situation that happened in the first 3 chapters? If someone can give me a synopsis, so I could be caught up to speed.
Charles, break it down, Pepper.
Okay. Actually, you have various situations, with various, there's more than one couple, but they have these things going on to where, basically, I call it, what did I call it? The wanting to be in love or love, but not being authentic about it, where it's not really real love. But you kind of like take it on the whim because of just what's happening at the time, and it's kind of like what's happening is you've got things happening in a space, but it's like they're different, but they're similar.
I got you, Charles. So basically, boom. So David is a DL man who grew up with a father who only cared about him being like a manly man who was a drunk. And there was this lady named Hella, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the sister of David's mother who passed. David's mother and David's dad don't get along at all. So it's like there's a lot of tension. So boom, they fast forward to I'm sorry. Okay. They fast forward to when David is grown and he's hanging out with this dude named Jaquez, who's like this funny looking short man who likes to spend money on boys because he looked funny. And he's friends with David because David is a good looking man who is okay with being friends with Jaquez because Jaquez give him money sometimes. So it's like a pimp who don't get no sugar. And there's this guy named William who is like another side character, somebody who's new to like the living. You seen Living Single before, Ty? Okay, so like a special character from like on Living Single. So that's William. And then David meets. So they go to this bar, and of this bar they're having a good time. And Jaquez makes fun of David because David is a DL man who used to talk and mess with women, but they all know he like men. So he meets this guy named Giovanni who works at this bar, and I guess Giovanni is fine and whatnot. And Jaquez makes fun of David for liking that man. And then David and Giovanni drink, get toe up, have a good time. Giovanni's talking to Matt's mess about the United States. And somewhere along the line, they hook up, and then David is moving out of his apartment. That's basically what happened to me in part 1. I mean, what happened to y'all agree?
I concur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That was helpful.
Charles
So
was giving
Charles,
it. I just wanted to, feel it. You gotta feel it.
so Charles, your question is, how would you handle the situation in what regard? Are you
Yeah,
asking?
in those situations, yes. If you were in that situation at that time, how would you handle it?
Got it. I can definitely start. I have not read the entire story, which I've been honored to just learn about this yesterday, which I was super excited about it, and didn't get a chance to read it all. But I'll say this, that the whole piece about love, I do believe that it starts within you. So, like, if you don't love yourself and do the work that it needs to do, the work that needs to be done to love yourself, it's gonna be very, very hard to love anyone else. So, there's that piece. Um, but in terms of meeting someone at the bar, I guess, and uh, I don't know. One of the character. What is the character? Who is the character that looks funny? You had mentioned it a lot.
Jacques.
Is it Jackie?
Jacques.
Who was Guillaume? Guillaume.
William. That's what I call him.
Yeah.
William.
Okay.
Okay.
So the Jacques character, I wonder, is his character really like? Does he love himself? Does he have any insecurities? Is that why he is paying for individuals to kind of like for their time? Is that the undertone of his?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't necessarily say that because the book was written in 1956, so they didn't have the luxury of the freedom that we did. And maybe if he did, and that's the beauty thing about it, because we don't know. Maybe if Jacques had the freedom that we have, sort of, in this time, he might have approached it differently. Yeah, I don't think because he's older than David, so he was raised to go about it a particular way from since then. Um,
I
so
think if he was in this time, he'd be flying to Thailand and Philippines.
he'll be what?
Wow.
That's the perception I get from the.
Oh.
He said he did it.
I said I think he'd be flying to Thailand and the Philippines if he was here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very,
That's that real drag that's always there.
yeah.
Okay. I don't know how I would handle a situation. I just know that I've been in situations where I've tried to be DL, and when I got drunk, that's when I got the courage to talk to a guy. I mean, it probably would happen the same way. Get drunk, have a good time, and go home and wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And that's why it's sad.
Yeah, yeah. I just always I never really was a person that engaged with a lot of people who are DL, so I can't say that was just never my thing. I believe when I tried it in my early years, it just was something that didn't resonate with me because I never could have the type of relationship that I wanted with them. So like, or that with the behaviors and however they present, but it's just like not accepting themselves. That wouldn't have worked for me.
Well, the gag is Jacques knew he knew that David likes men. Like they hung up, like they know. It's like they know. He was just, in my opinion, David was just refusing to just accept him for himself. So I don't think necessarily he was DL. I just think he wasn't used to dating men publicly, even though that's what he wanted to. Because the
Yeah.
DL that I'm talking, that I think you may be referring to, is a man. Well, I don't know what the DL. What I know is a man that I have no idea who likes other men, or who likes other men, and he will never be in places to be accused of liking other men. David went to these bars and was around different people. He's around even cross dressers and I believe the trans girls. So he was in places where a DL man wouldn't be. So that, in my opinion, revealed, his gayness. I just don't think he was used to. I think he was shamed. It was shame. I think he was just shamed of himself. If that makes sense. So, I mean, and I've been there.
I don't know how. I would like to think that. Well, in 1956, my answer would be different. How I would have handled any of those scenarios than they are now in 2023. But a few things that really just stand out is how the whole idea, not DL, the whole idea of being in denial of I can sleep with men, but I don't have to love men is what I got from there. And Giovanni challenging everything that he didn't want to be and everything that he didn't want to believe is where I probably would have gone insane because uh, growing up, you know, looking at other men lustfully, it was one thing. I wasn't thinking about being in love with them. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow a wedding band or walking down the aisle or what have you. So I can imagine David going through some real stuff because what probably was supposed to be a one night stand is now something I want this man in my life for a while, but I don't want nobody to know. And so that those struggles that he was going through or that he must have endured has me I want to go I go back to where I was and like even the imagery and maybe that's why I was like it's so slow is because it reminded me so much of things that I wanted to forget. um Being in dark places, although you were in a club, that club was secluded, it was dark places. You went to the restaurant was off a beaten path, and they described some of them was just as big as a corner that can only hold one seat, and everything was kind of like the imagery around everything was secretive. Even though we're not saying everything seemed to be secretive, and it's a world that unfortunately some of us are real familiar with. And so um how I would handle it, I probably would, as we said earlier, I would have lied to get along.
Well, I'll tell you for myself, um, it was relatable to me for one reason and one reason only is that as I was coming up, um, being bisexual was just as crazy as anything else, and so it's like living those two lives was just like it just wasn't the thing to do. And so when I think back to this being in the 50s and they got this shit going on, but he's actually able to tell this story and write this book back during that time where, with the issues that could have brought, I don't know if I could have done that. I really don't. But I probably would have been one of those just wilding. I was probably just wilding, you know. I mean, just enjoying everybody because I could. But as I think about that now, as I'm talking about today's time, I know that that's not a good thing. But to have that experience and to have made it through that experience has been the one thing that has taught me that um, the profoundness of just having a love, you know, and just wanting to be here, you know, and still be a fun person, I'm down with that, but I think I just which is why I try to do a lot of teachings to younger folk, or when I talk to younger folk, just have them just forewarned about some things when you listen to some of the things that they say, is that you want to always be careful because today's time has like past this time, the 50s to now is like light years away because it's moving just that fast. And so if it's moving that fast, sometimes you got to be careful, and you don't want to get caught up in the wrong way because being caught up in the wrong way could be very detrimental. And so I think that's why a lot of times, you have more mature people, trying to stay relevant and trying to stay around the folk that can relate to what they're doing.
Hmm.
Because it's like, the this second generation that's coming behind us, they're like moving real fast. I mean, it's like real fast. And it's like they can just do it just like that. And everything is on that phone or is on a computer. Back then, there was no such. When I came up, there was no cell phone until like I think the 80s or whenever when they came out. But you had to use the house phone. You see, and so by using the house phone, there ain't no privacy there. So you got to think about how you gonna move. Now you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, I mean, I go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny you said that. I went to the museum with my son. He's 10. And they had a rotary phone there. I was like, what the hell is this doing here? I remember using a rotary phone. Why is something I use in the damn museum? And I was telling him about a busy signal, and he was like, what's a busy signal, Mom? I was like, when you call someone and they don't pick up, it makes a sound. He was like, it goes to voicemail. And I'm like, forget it. Like, we're not even talking the same language. But I was like, why is this here in the museum? But yeah, you had to be careful with what you said. Same thing here. For me, my struggles were a little different. Like for a very long time, I was I was like the side chick. Like I was a very chubby, not together, like what I call eccentric now is just she can't match, back in the day. And so I think I was struggling with like self-love and everything else. So, it might have been, just say hi and she'll go out with you or whatever. But it was like, but not publicly. So, it was a lot of that going, a lot of that I had, in my past experience.
Do you all think this story is real?
Hmm. I think parts of it.
Because it seems very real.
He had a damn good imagination. There were too many things that just made sense, and then there were too many things that didn't make sense, which needed to not make sense in that time. And so,
Yeah. To enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think?
Did you ask if I thought the story was real?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Giovanni's white and David is black because James Baldwin like the 2%. Yeah, I think it's real. I think it's human nature to include ourselves into anything that we do. Absolutely, absolutely. I did have a question for everybody. So, have y'all ever, if this is a safe place, have y'all ever went the Jackie's way about love or entertainment financially?
No.
No, I've never done that.
What about you, D?
I have to some extent.
Okay, you better. Okay, ain't no shame in it. If you got it, spit it, player. Okay, and how was that experience? If you don't mind me asking.
If you saw me dropping my head, it's not something that you are proud of.
Mm-hmm.
It is, how can I say, you did what you had to do. And again, when you're taught love is measured by things and material things, then you felt that's what you had to produce to get it. And if you didn't produce it, you weren't loved. And if you didn't have it to share, then you weren't loving. And those are the things that I talk about that, makes me love more now, because I felt love had a price tag on it. And if you couldn't fulfill that, then you weren't worthy of it.
Shout out to your bravery, and I don't think you should ever put your head down from any moment in time in your life when you did the what you feel like you have to do. I think it takes strength to try. So shout out to you. Don't feel bad at all at that. And so since I asked that question, I'll ask the reverse. Has anybody been on the end of one of the bar boys where they did a little something strange for a piece of change?
No,
I,
not that either.
I've not done anything strange for a piece of change, but then once I got to in the gym a little bit and got noticed, then I had drinks purchased for me and rooms paid for.
I know that's right.
I feel like
This
that's
one
my
time I went to Red Lobster.
I had a few drinks paid for me, a couple of flights paid for, and you know, yeah. So I got to experience a little of the other side of it. You know, see, I held my head up for that part. You see
I know
that?
that. I know that's right. I think I went to Red Lobster one time in college, and my brother said a long time ago, "Reese, you make a bad hoe," and that's the truth. Okay, so I tried it, didn't work out. Yet I'm always interested in folks who have experienced that both ways because I used to look at life and see people's lawns and grass always greener than mine based on experiences I never had. So I'm always drawn to a lawn, a garden. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And I think Charles keeping some secrets because you know folks from the generations before love to keep secrets.
No, no, no. Seriously, no. I've never done that. It ain't no secrets, but I'll tell you, it's not like I have not thought about that, but I've never done that.
And I mean, and it's funny you should ask that because I think that question is very prevalent today because as we age, and if we are not married, if we are not partnered, or we are on that road to it, so many of my friends who are older, who are my age or older, are in that situation that have never been. They were the recipients, but now that they're older, and you're not the cutest puppy in the litter anymore, you're having to put forth more of an effort, and i.e., financially, to even get something that looks like love. So it's, you know, you played around all your life, you had fun, and I'm talking about my friends. They played around all their life, they had fun, and now that they're aging and want to love, now it's almost you got to pay for it because that age bracket don't want to date that age bracket. You want something younger, and you're not going to get it unless you pay the price tag. So your question is very timely. And such a time as 1956 is just as much of a time in 2023 when we know sex sells, and there's an abundance of it everywhere. And the question becomes, what do I do different with it?
D,
Or
we in
Come on.
24.
2020. Oh yeah.
now the gag is I've met young folks my age, I think maybe a little older and younger. They pay because in 2024, young folks are doing drugs because it is the thing to do, and good sex is hard to find. It's a lot of sex out here, but good sex is hard to find. And I've seen a lot of young folks paying for sex, and I think to me that's wild. To not yeah, so it's not like a lonely thing. It's like folks are not satisfied, so they're paying to be satisfied, and it's not even like love involved.
Wow.
So, do you guys think that how relevant do you think this book is for today's time?
Very relevant.
Very, very.
Very relevant. People still live. It's literally like it's like night and day, and it's like whatever. If this was the Matrix, it's like the Matrix been the same, and there hasn't been a necessary glitch yet. And only thing in my mind that's changed between then and now is there are um, more boundaries or more police or people working to keep the Matrix afloat, which is making folks repeat life and repeat the same things over and over again, like it's designed that way. Um, so yeah, it's really, really relevant. And my God, okay, I just don't fit in any. It's feeling like you don't. I feel like I just don't fit in any mode, and I'm trying to navigate life seeing what's being forced, seeing what's being encouraged, and seeing what I'm trying to exit and trying to navigate those wiggle rooms where I find myself. Because there's a lot of Davids, a lot of Williams, a lot of Jaquises, a lot of Giovannis. And it's like, but
I, I too think it's
I totally
relevant.
agree.
Yeah, I too think it's relevant. If for nothing else, um, it it provides great guardrails, or it provides great scenarios to establish guardrails as it relates to um, dealing with um, closeted um, tendencies. I think that there's a lot to learn from it. Slow to start. I'll still say that, but I think that it has some great lessons in there. And does it cover everything that one that may experience in a gay lifetime? No, but I think it covers enough from a perspective of where they had to do a lot of things under the cover, under a sheet, under that. And I keep going back to in the dark, and um, the relevance comes from society where we're living out loud, and it's a great, again, guardrail to see what it looked like when you couldn't live out loud, and when you did, what those repercussions and consequences meant for your health, for your safety, for you know. And real quickly, I'll be quiet. But when we get into the third chapter and we see the caregiver, when she comes over, she has her whole layout of what his life should be. You need to get married so you can help clean up this nasty ass house. You need so it's it was, and he found himself falling into subjection, because it's like, this is my mom talking to me and what I'm doing is wrong, and maybe I should get married, and maybe I should do. Whereas we fast forward to Monet, I got it, 2024. You're just living out loud, kicking and spinning, having a good time. But then, yeah, I think it's very relevant because it tells where we came from. It tells what we had to deal with, and it also tells what some people are still dealing with. The hurt's still there. The embarrassment, the shame that people put on themselves is still there. I think Bishop Carlton Pearson said it best. He said so many in who was it? One of our great basically, you've been freed and don't even know you're free.
Mm-hmm.
You've been, those chains have been released. You don't have to live in silence. You can live out loud, but you don't realize it because that's all you know. And I was on the borderline of being one of those that, I've been married. I've been with my husband for 14 years. We didn't start telling people we were married until 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You know something? We've been together for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Married legally for 10 as of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that partner thing, it wasn't hard for me to get rid of that, but it was for him. And to say that we're married was like a thing that, still thinking about, I guess 1978, 1979 of bashing and being beat up and so forth.
Yes.
He was just not comfortable with saying that we were married. And so I know it wasn't for love, but I was just like, there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, if something happens, it happens. But, we're not the kind of folk that's going to go out there and just fuck with people just because. And so, knowing that if you're just talking to close people, that's okay to say. But, it was kind of hard, I guess, at some point, but now it's not.
Yeah.
What was the question? I missed it. My apologies.
We was just talking about, Dee was just talking about him and his husband just now being able to say that they're married now as of 3 years ago, but they've been together.
Congratulations.
You said 12 or 16 years?
We've been together 14 years.
14 years.
God.
And so, and I was just saying that, we've been together for 26, how, we kind of like had a little similar thing, but that's just something, I understand how some people still feel like they have to be, just so secretive about things, but now it's the 21st century. You can forget about that. Because if you're not living your truth and living your life sometimes, believe me, it comes back on you. And I think we all have got to be free at some point or another. And this is why I think this book uh, it kind of like helps all of us in some shape, form, or fashion. Because how many of us, as we're reading this, how many of you have actually put yourself in this book, in this personal space of this book? And because I know I have, I know I have. Because I mean, it's just so many things, and it's like, wow, this is back then, and you talk about now, and so just let you know just how enormous this book is. So I don't know if you guys have checked this out or not, but the original copy of Giovanni's Room is going for the lowest price of I think it's $8,000, and they wouldn't say what the highest price is.
Whoa.
And so that's just letting you know that Baldwin broke a barrier that nobody talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Because how dare you in the 50s talk about homosexuality when you know that people aren't feeling it?
Yeah, and I got to say, he was very. I think he was very strategic and smart about it. And I'll use this analogy: he Whitney Houston, Dolly Parton song up.
Nobody knew Dolly sang that song till Whitney did it.
Exactly, and he had to use his certain characters to get his message across, because I don't think that it would have. And that's a very good question. Do you think it would have been as well received if the characters were African American?
Woo! Now you know what? That's an even larger question mark, because that makes up that question is one to die for. That's to be desired. That's a poll question.
Yeah. Wow.
So, in just reading this book though, do any of you guys take this as like a personal thing when you have read up to this point, or is it just another story?
I don't take it as a personal thing. I think that having personal experiences make me um, interested in reading it more, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I feel like I'm reading a friend's story. A friend telling a story of what happened.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. It seems like the undertone is self-love, so I'm super curious to see how the characters representation of their love to themselves manifest. So, yeah.
What was the question, Charles?
are you is this story personal to you to where you put yourself inside the story?
Yeah, because and I don't want to necessarily, because it makes me mad. It makes me mad that yeah, it annoys me. It makes me mad at society and people. It makes me annoyed at the hurdles that I didn't ask to be a part of. It makes me annoyed at the fact that whether I like it or not, you have to deal with it. It's like it annoys me. I mean, no one's life is perfect, but um, Ty had mentioned the sense of self love, and I didn't necessarily, I don't feel that David even gave himself that leeway to try to understand self love. It's more so just existing in that time, and that is where what I identify with for a long period of my life. I was just existing, and just to read someone just existing, it's a thing. So yeah.
So,
So go
if you
ahead.
may, if I will, that's why I believe that the story is super relevant. No matter it stands the test of time, because so many people deal with a lack of self love, and they in turn do things like pay for experiences to get this sense of love where it may actually be lacking because they're not filling that void within themselves. So I think this is this is an issue that we're still dealing with today, and we can see it in many forms, nowadays compared to back then, especially with the advent of technology.
While we're waiting on Charles to come back, I'm going to let you guys know. Yes, I jotted down names because um, if you're on social media, I'm gonna find you and follow you because you guys have really. I just ran upstairs to tell my husband, "You missed this. This is a great conversation. This is what I've been talking to you about." And he's like, "Man, get out my face." But anyway, thank you guys so much because I having a safe space to share is so important. And I say all the time in my line of work that uh, the world is lacking in safe spaces, and so therefore, I want to find. I think someone wrote that the world is lacking in safe spaces, so I try to be one. And not only do I try to be one, I try to find one. And I thank you all for letting me be transparent and being able to have open and honest conversations. And I truly look forward to more of this. I'm excited about it.
Well, this is created for what it is, and that is a safe space. And it's a safe space, especially for us that are same gender loving, to be able to come, sound off, be who you are, and not worry about somebody being judgmental, because judgmental is not going to happen here. We don't judge folk because it's enough of that on the outside of the other part of the world.
Yeah.
So as long as they're doing that, that's the tearing down part. We're building up. So I have suggestions for you guys. Do Are we going to finish this book and conclude next week, or are you guys wanting to start a different book and move forward?
No, we gotta finish. We gotta finish it.
Let them know.
I'm invested. I'm invested now.
I'm just asking. So then here we go. So then we should finish this book this week, and we should convene again next Sunday at same time at 6 p.m. I'll send out the link like I did to everybody in one big email so everybody be able to access the link, because the link is not going to be the same. And also, just so you know, you see we are live streaming. And we're live streaming through the channel that I have on YouTube, which is CK Stories from the Heart, which is the channel that I provide for my book. And so this is where it's streaming to. And I'm glad that everybody's comfortable, we're safe, and we can continue to do what we're doing. Because also at the same time, if everybody can come up with a suggestion of at least 3 different books that we can discuss, that we can leverage as our second book going forward. And if there's any other questions or concerns as to how we do this, and you guys got any suggestions, I'm open to hearing them, and we can always make them work.
We need Ty's lighting because my lighting not hitting like it needs to hit.
I
Let me know what you're using,
I have a ring light that I got from Amazon. Child, it's what, $10? You can buy that thing night.
It's worth every dollar.
It's worth every year.
I mean, he's being modest. It ain't no ring light. He got a whole production staff there.
Oh, baby,
I
I can't wait. I can't wait. I was gonna. I definitely have suggestions for books, but I do want to share that I am holding a healing circle. So if you guys want to be a part of that experience, because we know how important it is to heal ourselves, I think the underlying message of this book. That's why I'm super excited to read the rest of it, just because I want to see how the self-love is unfolded. Because really, when we lack self-love, we start having these different experiences that don't really reflect love to us. So this is going to be on the 16th. It's going to be at 6 p.m. and it's going to be until 8 p.m. So I'll send out more information on that. I just finished the details today, and it'll be a Facebook event. So if you guys are interested in that, it's a healing circle. It's going to get active. We're going to activate and introduce people into some healing so that way they can start incorporating it into their daily lives and live better. So I'll share that information with Charles, and he can disseminate it to you guys.
And so, just so you guys know, Ty is going to be on the show talking about his healing processes.
Awesome.
That's right, Ty.
I'm looking forward to it.
When's the show? When's the show? Charles?
Let me hold on. Let me get my little book.
We said February 1st.
I'm going to be in the chat cutting up. Ty, just letting you know. I like to be in the chat cutting up.
Oh, you like to be in the okay? Yeah, we like to cut up too over here.
I ask Charles sometimes. I'm like, you got to ask him the spicy question. Read the spicy comments.
No, it's February 1st, and we're gonna have try to implement some Black History components into that show. But yes, it's gonna be February 1st.
Oh my God! It's very Black History. FYI, my birthday is February 28th.
Nice. We'll do a shout out to you.
I have Black History.
We have to have you back on the show on February 28th and your new song.
Yes, I am a singer as well to Dean, Monette, and Ty. Check me out on all streaming platforms. I'm growing my YouTube base, so if you all feel moved, Amen Golden, all one word. Amen Golden, AHMEN, Please listen to my music. I'm sure you all will like it and love it. And subscribe and tell a friend. I'm out here in Dallas, so it won't be long before I'm having shows and all of those beautiful things that accompany this path. But yeah.
Nice. Congratulations. Yes, I definitely will.
I was Charles' first interview of last year. So I can't believe you had other interviews this year and I wasn't the first, Charles.
Look, baby, no, you were the first in the relaunch,
but not this year. Ain't that something?
Oh, well, this year, yeah, we had to hit it hard, and so there's a lot that's going on, and I want you to know seriously, no, because your show was actually good because his show has got more than 1K in views. But no, this year we setting a tone for 2024. Where everything is going to be high natured. Actually, the new promo commercial that we're doing is actually much improved as well, and that's over a 3-week period.
Shout out to you. You see, I work with Charles. The budget was low, so now that the budget is up, Charles, I got to last year's price is not today's price.
Last year's price is not today's price.
You sounded like
that's the energy 2024.
See, you sounded like Auntie Aretha Franklin now. Before you have my money. This ain't the boat. This look weak. Yeah,
I fly now. We got money.
Thank you for having this space. Thank you for having this book club. Thank you for being you and sticking with it. I'm so grateful and honored to met 3 beautiful souls, a part of your journey in your world. So thank you, Charles.
Well, no, look here, we're all together. And we all have this love, and I just wanted to continue to grow. And so, like I said, I will send out the new link. I'll create the link for the show for next Sunday at 6 p.m. Once it's done, I'll send it out and make sure everybody got it. But so I can say it ahead of time. Just let me know that you guys have received the link, so that won't be missing, and we'll just be ready for next Sunday at 6.
Perfect. Charles, can I make one quick suggestion? And I know you said we'll throw out some books, and I think a perfect book to compare and contrast with James Baldwin's Giovannis Room is The Yards Between Us. I don't know if The Yards Between Us. It's about a Dallas Cowboy football player who struggles with his sexuality and eventually comes out, and what that looks like when you have to come out in front of the whole world. And I think that would be a great comparison and contrast to what was done in secret to now just letting the whole world know. It's a great read.
Who's the author?
The author is the actual football player. what is his name? R.K. Russell.
What?
Football player, the Dallas Cowboy football player. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
It's deep.
Deep pause. I R.K. Ross.
R.K. Russell, The Yards Between Us.
You better word them locks. Okay, to the side. Okay. Okay. Mm. I will say this, D. I think an effort of keeping everybody on the same page, because it has to be a new book, like a new book you haven't read, no one's read, so that we can take the journey together.
I
If
agree.
Okay.
Okay. Dungeons and Dragons it is. I'm just kidding. But if you want to read, if you want a good comparison and contrast, I highly recommend that you read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I just say to all, though, next week, you all want to come up with book suggestions, then please come up with the suggestion. We'll vote and decide which book we'll do after we meet next Sunday.
All right.
Is that his boyfriend?
Sounds good.
Is he with a white man?
Yep.
What is going on?
I mean,
I love black love. He over here dating a younger Wolverine. I ain't mad at him. What is going on? What like the James Baldwin with a white man, Rustin with a white man, not this man with a white. What's wrong with black love? And then he don't know how to dress. I'm not reading the book. I'm not. I'm joking. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat.
All right, you guys. You have a good night. Thank you. It was an honor and a pleasure. I cannot wait to talk with you guys.
Yes.
Discuss next week.
Yes, sir. We're gonna finish the book up next week, and I will see you all then.
All right. See you next week.